Hello and welcome to the Daily Scripture Podcast. My name is Jerome Lavelle and I hope that you're having a great day today. Today we will be looking at Matthew chapter 14, verses 13 through 21. When Jesus heard of the death of John the Baptist, he withdrew in a boat to a deserted place by himself. The crowds heard of this and followed him on foot from their towns. When he disembarked and saw the vast crowd, his heart was moved with pity for them, and he cured their sick. When it was evening, the disciples approached him and said, "This is a deserted place, and it is already late. Dismiss the crowds so that they can go to the villages and buy food for themselves." He said to them, "There is no need for them to go away. Give them some food yourselves." But they said to him, 5 loaves and 2 fishes are all that we have here." Then he said, "Bring them here to me." And he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he said a blessing, broke the loaves, and gave them to the disciples, who in turn gave them to the crowds. They all ate and were satisfied, and they picked up the fragments left over, 12 wicker baskets full. Those who ate were about 5,000 men, not counting women and children. Today in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 14, verses 13 through 21, we hear of the miracle of the loaves and fishes. Sometimes called the feeding of the 5,000, this miracle is captured in all 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This is, of course, a majestic, all-inspiring series of events. Confronted with the fact that a large crowd had gathered to hear Jesus, it was late in the day and they were in a remote location away from food sources. Jesus' disciples became alarmed. What happened next was both physically and symbolically significant. Physically, Jesus took a few loaves and fishes and provided nourishment for a large crowd. Symbolically, this miracle represents so much more. It showed Jesus as the source of spiritual nourishment for a spiritually hungry world. It showed Jesus as creator of abundance in our lives, feeding our needs with plenty left over. It showed Jesus as operating above the laws of the physical world, emphasizing that which is beyond what we experience. It showed Jesus as enabler. Recall the disciples' anxiety over the crowd's lack of food, to which Jesus said, "Feed them yourselves." He was saying to them, "Through me, you can do extraordinary things. Don't limit yourself." To me, the miracle of the loaves and fishes is among Jesus' most important and inspiring public miracles. What I would like to focus on in my reflection today and what caught my attention is not necessarily the miracle itself. It is the first line of the passage we read today. Recall that it said, "When Jesus heard of the death of John the Baptist, he withdrew in a boat to a deserted place by himself." The line itself doesn't connect to the miracle directly, other than to explain the logistics that Jesus had retreated to a quiet area. The people followed him there, and thus they later needed to be fed. But my reflection, what I'm thinking about, is Jesus' act of seeking out and finding a quiet place for himself. In this case, perhaps to mourn or process or pray on the death of his cousin John the Baptist. And this is something we see Jesus doing in other places in the Bible, such as at the Transfiguration in the Garden of Gethsemane during his 40 days and 40 nights in the desert where he was tempted by the devil. Jesus demonstrates to me in that act of retreating the need for silence, the need for quiet reflection time. I'm thinking about my life, our world, with all of the distractions and busyness, with our 24/7 bombardment of information, our plugged-in lives, and our electronic addictions. I'm reflecting on my own habit, my own need for this retreat time, this quiet time in my life. I'm asking myself some basic questions today. How can I expect to hear God if I don't take time to listen? How can I develop and maintain a relationship with God if I don't prioritize time with Him? How can my faith be strengthened if I don't feed it? Just as Jesus fed the 5,000 today, I must feed my relationship with Jesus in quiet time with Him, in retreat time with Him. Today's gospel in Matthew has me asking myself some of these important questions. And today I'm going to take some time, some quiet time, to think through my answers. Thank you for joining the Daily Scripture Podcast. My name is Jerome Lavelle. And remember, our word of the day is quiet time with Jesus. Until next time, be well and be blessed.